Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Arlene Diamco on the MultiDimensional MD. Thank you so much for joining us. My mission, as always, is to bring the intuitive aspects of health back to medicine in practical and tangible ways so that you can access deeper healing and experience more peace, love, and joy in your everyday lives. And today I have a special guest, Marian Bodner. And when I talk about bringing the intuitive back in tangible ways, this is a perfect example because we're going to be talking about paint talks and processing emotions through paint. And I'm going to share with you my experience with Marian, but first a little bit more about her. She was born in the Bronx, one of my favorite details, since I spent 3 years in the Bronx in my pediatric training, and also my oldest was born in the Bronx, so we have that connection.
And raised in Brooklyn.
And she's been the art director for Life Works School of Coaching for the last decade. She taught preschool for 12 years. So you are going to be so nurtured and loved in her presence. She is such a people person, which makes her just amazing to help guide people through this process of talking to paint and talking to themselves and getting to know themselves and accessing the subconscious. So she created Paint Talks Process Painting, which is her own unique style. And thanks, Marian, for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is such a special treat, so I could share what I do with the world. And process painting, probably people ask me, what is that? And process painting is not what you think you're going to paint, like the tree, the mountains, or whatever. It's actually what you feel. If you're feeling, even if you're feeling blissful, if you're feeling fearful, if you're having anxiety, I feel the best way to go and to help your emotions is to get a paintbrush in your hand and pick whatever color that calls to you, whatever color, and just dip it into the paint and start painting. And we don't know what's going to happen because a story is going to be told. And whatever you paint, that's you on the canvas coming out. So it's deep into your subconscious of what's coming out onto that paper, whether it's monsters and blood and guts and fire and devils, or it's flowers and joy, whatever you're feeling, because it actually shifts your emotions into a better state of mind. Because a lot of times when you're very stressed out and you don't know what to do with yourself, I find going to the easel to paint is my place to go to. It's my sacred space where I could just play with the paints. There's no rules. And to actually paint as an artist with no rules is blissful. It's just the best way I could think of doing it. Because as a preschool teacher, when you give a child a paintbrush, they don't go, oh, I don't know what to do. They just go straight at it. So for 12 years, painting with these children, they taught me how to free myself up, how to just let go. Don't really care about judgment or somebody looking at your painting saying, oh, that's not good enough. Art is art. Because in caveman times, they did stick figures on the walls, and that's how they communicated. So the paint gives you your voice, and that's your opportunity to let it rip.
That sounds so amazing. I love like how you giving people the permission to access that child within them and help to dissolve these boundaries of like what we should be feeling like, how it should look, and just completely be free. So how did you, I know this is both personally and professionally something that's been meaningful for you. So how did you first get started in in
Well,
this?
I always painted as a child. I mean, my parents, in Brooklyn, growing up in Brooklyn, moving from the Bronx to Brooklyn was a big deal for my family. And, it was a crazy household. My mother was a very nervous woman. She had a lot of issues. There was a lot of fighting. I used to hear a lot of dishes breaking, the broom, the sound of the broom sweeping everything up. And it was a lot of heavy emotions. So I would just go in my room and I would paint and paint and paint and paint. And actually, my paintings were always chosen on for shows in the library, at the museums. So I was always part of that list. So I always painted, and whatever I painted, it didn't matter. I was just doing something, and my creativity was really showing up. It's so important to be creative because so many people today in the world that we live in, they just they don't know what to do with themselves, and they get bored, or they'll drink, or they'll do drugs, or they act out, or they get angry. But this actually shifts your emotions. So when you give a child a paintbrush, they don't say, "Oh, I don't know what to do." They just go at it. And it's the most joyful thing you could actually watch as a child painting. And with my students that come to me, I try to encourage everybody to be 3 years old. That's what I do. And it's amazing the stories that come out. It's just whatever they're feeling. If they could be feeling the sadness, sometimes people, it percolates up inside of them and they start to cry at the painting. And I just let them be. And it's okay to cry and it's okay to let it out instead of rescuing somebody right away. Say, oh no, don't cry. Let it cry. Let it out. It's bubbling up and percolating inside, so just keep painting. And then there's a lot of students that don't know what to do. And I just say, go closer to the painting. Just go closer to the painting. And I say, as I did a lot of classes, just move your brush and no thinking. And they say, how could I not think? I only want you to think in that moment.
That's what I was going to ask you, because it sounds like you had this natural inclination towards painting, and then working with people who maybe they've never even held a paintbrush in their hands. And it's this, how do you even start? What do you mean? How do I be a 3-year-old?
Well,
It's been so long, I forgot.
You just don't think. You just do, and you just be who you are, your authentic self, and you just start painting. It could be dots, it could be squiggles, it could be a doodle, but eventually it's going to turn into a story. And that painting that comes out of you is going to surprise you, and it's going to shift your emotions and move you to your next step. Where do I go? There's so many layers. Like I say, there's so many layers of an onion that we have to peel, and we got to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. I actually, to answer your question, I actually started this. I went through a horrific divorce after 25 years, and I was a mess. The whole family was a mess from my divorce. And I started painting in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep. I would paint my house, my backyard, my tree, my life. I would just start painting and painting. And as I started painting, it was letting go and saying, it's okay. It's not, I'm not holding it in anymore. I'm releasing, and I'm
You're
okay.
processing.
And I'm processing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's amazing to process, and that you take a risk. It should be fun, even though you're processing, and it could be very, very heavy, and you don't want to go backwards and you don't want to think about it. But actually, it's the best thing you could do because you're having fun at the same time, because you're picking all these colors and you're playing. I don't know if you remember as a kid, like at school time, you bought the 24 colors of the Crayola crayons, and all those blissful colors. You just couldn't wait to color or create a picture or something. And my oldest sister, I have two older sisters. I'm the baby of the family. So my oldest sister, she would sit with me, help me do my art projects. And she actually inspired me to try different things and play and have fun. And I remember those memories of her sitting with me at the kitchen table, helping me do my art projects.
It's so fun and beautiful, and that permission. It reminds me of Peter Reynolds' book. It's a children's book. It's The Dot, and it's just like the permission. I don't know where to start, and it's just
Yeah.
like, we'll just put a dot on the page. Just
A dot.
start.
It's like I grew up in New York, in Brooklyn, and my favorite place was MoMA, was the Museum of of art. And you would see, like, when you walk through the museum, it would be black. It would be painted black and then a little white dot in the middle. And it would be called white dot on black, or it would be called, whatever it was. So I used to, with my kids in the school, we used to have art shows, and we used to, the things that they would say, and we would make all kinds of projects and paint, and we'd make cookies, and we'd have a whole art show, and all the parents would come, and it was just like being in the museum.
Yeah, and this is different than because this is not an official form of counseling. This is really accessing your natural resilience, helping you get in touch with your inner self, your subconscious that is having difficulty like processing things, integrating these things, and what I was talking about before is like bringing the intuitive back into health, back to medicine in practical and tangible ways. You're literally taking the pain and making, like, seeing yourself in a very tangible way so that you can access things that might not be at the top of your awareness, and be able to incorporate all these various aspects of yourself.
And then it comes to the conscious, and there it is. And then you're looking at it. So everybody, people would say to me, "Oh, I'm not an artist. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I go, everyone is born an artist. It's innate in us. It's part of us. We let it go as we get older, as we, get more mature, and we have, families and lives and houses and mortgages and everything, and we forget about all the creativity. And that's what's missing, because when you have creativity, it is just so joyful that you can't wait to go to your next painting or what's your next color. It actually grows in your veins, and you become this creative being again, and you're happy. It makes you happy, even though you're letting go of everything that you need to let go of. You are so relieved at the end of a process painting. Do you want to show
Yeah,
your process
yes,
painting?
absolutely. And I want to say, like, we are meant to be creative beings. Like, people ask me, like, when do you feel the best? I feel my best when I'm creating, because we get to be these pure expressions of ourselves, these pure expressions of the stillness, the creative forces, the oneness. And so, yeah, we're actually meant to create. And so if we are ever stuck in the creative process, whatever that means for us, it doesn't have to be in painting. We can use the process of painting to regain access to ourselves. And yes, I will share my experience too with Marion. So we just met over the weekend, and it was really fun. It has been a dream of mine to be able to offer a art expression, some sort of creative healing where you could access your intuition, you could help integrate your all different parts of yourself. And before we had met, before we arranged this meeting, I actually had said, I was like, oh, for my birthday's tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
I was like, yes, I was like, I would like to paint. And it was before we had arranged this meeting. And then I was like, oh my gosh, it just appeared. I literally said that out to the universe, but I didn't make, I was like, this is what I would like to do. I started to explore different like art things. And then we had this meeting with us together. So let me explain a little background about why we got together and what I decided to do with our time, because this is sacred work. And for each person, it is so deep and meaningful. And so for me, the background was that my desire, my hope was to have some clarity over my next steps, especially in creating this groundbreaking school of stillness where everyone is a healer. And what is that actually going to look like? And in order for me to be completely free in this creative process, I also needed to not have any inkling of fear of being seen or heard. It's a natural need for all of us. We all need to be seen and heard. And really, we need to be seen and heard for ourselves first, which is part of the process of painting through it. But also, on the flip side, like for myself, was addressing like, oh, but is it going to be okay if people see you, hear you? Like what if I say things
like there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. It's just free will. It's just actually being as free as you could possibly be. And there's no mistakes. You cannot make a mistake. It came out of you. It is what it is. And then you just move on to the next. So it's really, I always say it's blissful.
And no matter where you are in your own process, it's helpful. And people might say to me, like, why would you need help creating? You create so many things. I was like, because we can ever feel more expansive and free. And it's not a destination like you're already free. It's the journey, right? Of like continuing to feel that in a moment to moment way. So if you're watching this on YouTube, then you'll be able to see the video. If you're not, then I'm going to describe the painting for you because I'm going to show it here. And here it is with all different colors. And this was done without thinking. I haven't done a lot of painting, but it started with, I'll describe a little bit so you can appreciate the depth that you can get through this process working together. So it started with some fire and just like fear of being hurt. And then this is my interpretation of it. So this stroke was the only one going down. It was just like that soul coming down more fully. And we're meant to be that embodiment of our consciousness. And then the fire went down more, lower down to our sacral chakra, to our grounding chakra. And so it's like that fire started to be fuel instead of like a fear of being hurt. And then from that were all these different branches, which for me represents the school. And there's so much to it. There's actually a lot more detail, but I'm going to tell you that over time as we tell you more about the school in the future. But so all those different branches. And so instead of this fire that got covered up, it had a lot of that to me represented my fear. It started to become something really beautiful, and all the strokes started to go upwards. And for me, that represented this inspiration. So rooted, grounded first in the body, and then inspiration moving upwards. And there in the little corner there is part of the logo for School of Stillness. So that was such a meaningful process for me. And there's so many details I could go through with it, but I just wanted you to get a glimpse of it to see, how could it possibly be helpful for you? And Marion also works with teenagers.
Yes, I love the teenagers because they just love it so much. What the painting does, what process painting does, it actually puts you into a meditative state. You don't even hours could go by. It could be, for me, it could be 2:00 in the morning and I'm still with the paintbrush. The time just goes, and it's just takes you away. And if you can't meditate, a lot of people tell me that they can't just sit and meditate. Put a paintbrush in your hand and just start. You go into a meditation immediately. And it starts to relax and you start to release and the stress starts to go away. It's almost like a vacation from your mind. You're on a journey and you just go into the journey. A lot of times I'll meditate before I go into the journey, and then I'll say, I have no idea where this painting's going to take me, and I just let it rip. I don't think about it. There's no right or wrong, as I said before, and it's a place where you could go to and just relax and be with yourself, to quiet your mind and to be very mindful and to keep yourself focused and centered instead of scattered. You could scatter with the paint, but you are thinking about your next color, what you really want to do on that painting. It could be black, it could be brown, it could be whatever you're feeling. I really want that feeling tone to come out. So that's why this is so important for everybody to try to do process painting, because it really, really helps you shift your emotions, that they are not good or bad, but it's just a shift, and you will be so proud of yourself and you'll feel so happy and so good inside that you were creative.
Mhm. Yes. And thinking about, who could, like, when would you decide to do something like this? I know it's like, well, gosh, anytime it could be helpful, but in particular, it sounds like times of life transitions, teenage years,
Oh,
anytime you're having like challenges or
right.
difficulties.
Well, I always have an easel set up. You could set your easel up in the bathroom. You could set your easel up in your bedroom and just have it's just a piece of paper. You could tear it up and rip it up and throw it away if it's too much for you. But if you could have a place to go in your home where it's quiet and it's a sacred space, then you could paint anywhere. You could find just any place in the basement, any corner in your house where you feel you could paint. That would be ideal.
Yeah, sometimes I've recommended to people to keep some sort of like art journal. So do it without words, because without words
Yeah,
helps you
no
to
words.
access your
No, because
subconscious.
I want the paint to talk. I want
Mhm.
the paint to give you your voice of what you're really feeling. So it's very important that the paint, that's why I call it paint talks, because the paint is going to talk to you, and it's going to give you your voice.
Marian, thank you so much. And I would like to just emphasize to everyone that this has been such a dream for me. And we spent the weekend moving so many art supplies into one of our rooms here at All Worlds Health so that we could have this opportunity available for people. And so whether you explore this on your own or explore it with the guidance of Marian, like being creative, accessing that inner child, accessing your inner self, which is really the depth and truth of it is all love and joy and oneness. But sometimes there's things that interfere with our ability to access that light within us, and the paint can help us process through that, through what might be eclipsing our view of our true selves. And you'll learn so much. And I'm really looking forward to being able to do this more regularly.
Yeah, it should. I would love to create a movement that everybody has an easel in their home and they could just go at it and paint and have a good time, but yet really be brave and have courage to let whatever emotions that you're having, let it speak to you on that painting.
So if anyone would like to learn more, then I'll be adding Marian's information on our website, allworldshealth.com. If you haven't joined our e-love letter, I send it out once a week, so I'll be putting information on that in the letter, and you can join that from the website, allworldshealth.com. And we have many more collaborations that we don't want to say quite yet, but this is your sneak preview, because we have a lot more fun to
To do it,
adventures
and
to
just
have.
come on over and paint it out, and we'll see where it takes you.
So thanks everyone for joining us. As always, I believe in you. We believe in you. So we hope that you believe in you too. And if I will see you next time, or you can listen to us on many podcasting platforms now on another episode of the Multidimensional MD. Take care.
Bye.